A very warm welcome to this special show, The Big Discussion. Being a child, being a student in today's online age, definitely not a child's play. A lot of information coming in, lot of pressure and stress, I'm sure must be way more than what you and I can imagine. Before I introduce my guests, I have with me few students here from DPS Guwahati. Let's listen in from them. What do they think? Are we elders making a lot about this whole information overload and everything else? Are they all very happy and they are just okay with handling the pressure, segregating between the information they get, and they're just all cool about this whole thing? So with me here today are these lovely students here, all smiling and happy and beaming. In fact, they are making me feel happy. So yeah, would like to hear from the three of you here. What do you think? What's happening? Are we the elders making a lot of noise about this entire thing? You guys are okay? What are your thoughts? Who would like to go first? You?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's Sanjukta, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The very prominent drawback was that we have this immediate contact with the devices. So that definitely is a diversion from the topics that we are being explained in the online classes. So that was like the urge to not tap on that very notification. So yeah, so that was the very first drawback of online classes.
Okay.
I would like to say that the interpersonal connection or the touch between the students and a teacher was lacking.
Yes.
And which of course created a problem. And of course, sometimes it becomes very difficult to understand stuff online because, because of the network connections or etc., the infrastructure, etc. So I think that is the drawback of the online classes.
All right.
And actually, speaking on the point which you said about the too much information being available, I think that is genuinely an issue. Because the thing is, it's like we've been dropped into a jungle and we're not aware how do we protect ourselves, how do we go about it. So without that information being given to us, it becomes very difficult because the internet is not the safest place. It just never was, it never will be. But if we are guided properly by the people who are aware, if there are awareness sessions, etc., where students, or just not even students, just anybody who's new to the platform is aware on how do we connect with it safely and in a way that is not harmful to us or anybody else, it would be better.
Right. And also, something that I have been thinking about, I feel that all of you now, growing up years, there's a lot of competition. The cutoffs very high. Every year it just keeps rising, right? And then also this whole thing about peer pressure. Even if your parents might not be saying anything, you all must be feeling the pressure yourselves. So how are you people coping with all these multiple things happening at the same time? And what I feel is that present day, every minute there's a change happening. Right? So how are you young people coping with all of these? Anish, first.
I feel the pressure scenario that's happening, that's obviously because I was talking with my friend a few days back and then she had a very clear idea of where she wanted to go, what she wanted to do in her life. She had a very clear direction. I have lots of interest, and so I felt very self-conscious in a way. I was like, oh my god, she knows so much, she's so aware of her surroundings, she knows what she's going to do, while I am here just going with the flow, sitting and just like jo hoga dekha jayega sort of like a mindset. And so that was very that was a jarring moment in a way for me. So that's that. And also about the thing that new changes happening all the time. I think personally I cope up with it in a way that I actually talk about these changes with my friends. Because parents and most elders, they themselves are not aware of the changes, and it for them is a very big thing too, because we grew up in a digital age. We have had exposure but then usually parents are the guiding figures. They know what they're doing and they guide us through. But in this kind of like a situation, they too are learning, and so this guidance factor, it just diminishes. And so I do talk with my friends, because like they know about stuff, I get to know about stuff, and then we handle it all together, because I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm not the only one who's
going through this.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Ayushi, what are your thoughts? Ayusha, sorry. Yes.
As he said, like talking to friends, I mean, it actually helps. Like I'm really close to her, so we like often talk and like sort it out. So I mean, that's how we are coping with it, and I would say I'm actually I'm just going with the flow.
Right, like he said.
Yeah, just going with the flow.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So Sanjukta, Ayusha, Anish, do you all feel that from as far as your teachers are concerned, your parents are concerned, yes, they also are new to this whole fast changing scenario, but you do feel that a little bit more from their side would be of great help?
I feel like the parents, they are right at their place. They have the right to be concerned, even the teachers. But like even from the teachers' point of view, they have so much work from the school itself, then the classes. So I understand.
Yeah.
So just that general interaction would be good. And in my opinion, like in online classes, what happens that you don't really have that motivation to really like talk and interact.
Yeah.
So pop quizzes would help after the classes. Like there would be a sense of like fear also that okay, we need the teacher is testing us whether we are actually getting into the online class or not. So that would be great.
All right. Any suggestions from your side?
In my opinion, yes, as has been mentioned before, that they too are new to this whole scenario, but at the end of the day, we are younger in age.
Yes.
And so a little bit of understanding, I'm not saying that they have to be, just a little bit of understanding that what we are going through is very different than what they went through, and so their tried and tested methods might not work for us as well. And so just that understanding and just the support that we're with you, don't worry, it's going to be all right, would be very helpful.
Some words of affirmation.
Exactly.
Support, right?
Verbal support, words of affirmation, words of affection as well. That would help.
Yeah. All right. So that's very interesting to hear from these young minds what their thoughts are, what they are actually going through. Like the three of them, they said that they talk, they share amongst themselves. That is how they are coping up with this immense pressure, the information overload. Yes, each one of them, they are aware of the fact that they have to perform, they have to do better. Expectations are extremely high. Their parents might not be saying anything, but they themselves are aware that they have to achieve. They are here to do good, to perform better and be achievers. Well, yeah, that's really wonderful to hear from the three of you. Ayusha, anything specific you would like to mention? Any personal experiences?
Yeah, sure. Personally, I'm a very social person. I like being around people, but this lockdown and this whole online situation has created a problem, because I still remember I attended a wedding just after the lockdown, and I was so afraid that like, what will people like, it's just like
the socializing skills were suddenly gone.
That was lacking. So that's one of the drawbacks, and that it's like a personal
Similar experience with me, but a little different. I too am very social in the sense that I just detest texting. I prefer in-person conversations, eye contact, just using my hands. I do use my hands a lot while talking. So like this lockdown, it made me lose contact with a lot of people, because the whole texting, like first of all, we're doing online classes from morning till the afternoon. And then after that, while studying, due to the limited actual physical material that was available, so we were using internet for a lot of our queries, a lot of our things. So we were totally connected with the devices. On top of that, maintaining friendships and through online modes and like just texting people, that was very difficult for me to do, and so I lost contact with a lot of people. And as she said, when school reopened, I remember I was very self-conscious about myself, like what are they going to think, what is going to happen, and it felt like I was going to school for the first time all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Same here.
All right. Okay. Interesting thoughts, interesting experiences coming from the three of you. In fact, thank you so much for being with me today to share your thoughts. Thank you, Anish, Ayusha and Sanjukta, all class 11 students from DPS Guwahati. Thank you so much for being part of this show. Now, let me welcome my panel. Let me introduce my panel today for this big discussion. Joining me today for the big discussion is Dr. Sangeeta Datta. She is the Senior Consultant Neuropsychiatrist, Medicity Aditya. That's Dr. Sangeeta Datta on your screens. Also joining me today is Dr. Banashree Bordoloi. She is an educator, Sanskriti, the Gurukul, Guwahati. Pardon me for that. And also with me today in the studio is Meher Ishrat Amin. She is TGT, Department of Economics, DPS Guwahati. Welcome, ladies, to the big discussion. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, of course,
thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Dr. Datta, you heard the students, you heard their thoughts, their experiences, and how they are coping up with these changing times.
Yes.
Of course, the two educators here in the studio, both of you are dealing with these students day in and day out. In fact, most of you are also parents. So today I would like to hear from each one of you, and of course Dr. Datta, particularly from you, how can we make this current day world better for our children, for the students? How can we, lessen down the pressure that they are going through? Must be a lot of stress for them. How do we make their lives better? Of course, first maybe I would like to go to Dr. Bordoloi and to Meher Ishrat, hear from them, and then throw the show out there for Dr. Datta to give us the solutions. So may I start with you first, Dr. Bordoloi? What are your thoughts? Suddenly COVID changed everything for us, and we are still trying to cope up with all of that.
Yes, the COVID has been a big setback, we can say, because although the students, like intellectually, they have grown the last 2 years, but if you see in the social dictum, in the social arena, in the school arena, they are still 2 years behind, as though they have frozen their social enactment in these 2 years. So it was, or it is still a difficult time for us, because we have to wean them into the system. And because of that, they are facing a lot of pressures.
Yeah.
And especially if we give too much of educational pressure on them, it might snap at one point of time. So that is why we have reverted our system. We are taking into more of collaboration rather than competition. Right from in-house school competitions, we have changed it into a collaborative forum. And this was difficult on us also, because we were not used to it. But then we have taken it onto us. And gradually we are trying to bring it in. Like if you see, the students have got so used to their mask also.
Right.
So it's like as though it's part of their
everyday life,
their personality. So even if the COVID times, even if they don't have to wear their mask, even in the classrooms they keep wearing it. It's like as though they're hiding behind that mask, as though they're trying to get solace behind that. So that also has been noticed, we have been noticing that factor also.
Yes.
So we have to gear that up, and we have to come up to some solution.
Yes, in fact, Dr. Bordoloi, Meher, what one of the student here, he mentioned, Anish, a class 11 student from DPS, he mentioned that, when they went back to school, they felt that suddenly they are starting their schooling from the scratch.
Yes.
Afresh.
And, after so much of texting and everything, staying in touch with family and friends through the mobile,
Right.
every time doing everything online, suddenly these children, this is what the children shared today, they felt that suddenly they didn't know how to socialize in real.
they felt a gap.
Absolutely.
There was
so,
a gap.
Yes. So, Meher, I'm sure you must have noticed a lot of...
Yes, actually, when we came up with the session, this one after this long COVID break, I would say, we gave them a corridor of a week. When they came, it was very important that we made them feel home.
Right.
That was very important because it was these 2 years that was the home that was giving them everything. The comfort, the learning, everything was connected to the home. So that home needed to be built again in the school. So it was difficult, not so easy to build that home again in the school. We gave them a corridor where we did not really go with the courses. We gave them time to come and cope up, to come and socialize, come and experience what actually they lost all these 2 years. So that was so important, and it actually helped them a lot to come and understand and get the feel of what is offline classes. Though it's not enough, that's never enough, because we have noticed that there are certain students, many of them, they have that long 2 years pent up energy within them, and that is coming out in bits and pieces, sometimes as cases of indiscipline, sometimes unnecessary altercations with their peer.
I agree
so
with you,
those
yes.
things actually is also a challenge for the teachers, educators and people to make them understand what actually they are doing and what are their what are the expectations for them, what are the expectations from themselves, as well as how do they fulfill the expectations of the parents and the educators as well. So battling and juggling between all these things was not easy for neither the teachers nor the students. But then we are happy to be offline.
Yes.
This is what actually the real education system is about. We are happy to be offline, and we are trying our best to see the best comes out.
Yes, I'll come back to both of you regarding what you all are doing to make the space more happy and easy for...
Another thing I would just like to mention here regarding, because there were many psychological issues also faced.
Which is why we have Dr. Sangeeta Datta
Doctor
on the
is
show.
And we in our school, we have devised, we always had this, counseling system. Now it's been strengthened. Because the number of cases, going for the counselors are more. We have sessions for the students as a whole, as well as students facing a little more difficulties. We have special, counselors who are catering to them. So we have strengthened that system so that these students find it easier to cope up with the situation.
Right. Dr. Datta, your thoughts. You've heard the children. You've heard both our educators here, and you yourself must be handling a lot of cases these days. So your thoughts?
Yes. Well, at the outset, I'd like to congratulate all the students. I'm hearing the echo of my own voice. I'm sorry. It's getting very difficult to talk. Can that be fixed?
Is it fine now?
Let me try.
Yes.
Well, at the outset, I'd like to congratulate all the students who have shared their thoughts, and I must congratulate them because they have been coping very well. Yes, it has been a huge challenge because the last 2 years, because of COVID-19 and the consequences thereof, has been very difficult 2 years of our life. It's not only for students, it's been difficult for teachers, parents, and everyone. But having said that, I must say that at my clinic at Medicity, during the last 2 years and even now, I get to see a lot more students, both from schools and colleges, who come to me with increased anxiety disorders, different kinds of anxiety. That could be generalized anxiety, that could be social anxiety disorder, phobias. I get patients of substance abuse, much more these days, substance abuse like marijuana abuse or nicotine abuse, or even hard drugs like heroin. So depression is far more common. Suicide attempts have become far more common. And apart from that, attention problems have become far more common. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder was there even before COVID-19. But these days, parents come to me or students come to me complaining about inability to concentrate on their, on whatever they are studying or trying to do, and which they had not experienced earlier. So to put it in a nutshell, many of the psychological problems in this population has increased. The question is why? Why? Because initially, like 2 years back or 1 year back, when we were having discussions about what has happened to the student community or to the entire population at large, we have understood that, going for a lockdown, staying indoor, staying away from friends, not going to school, has actually, it was called the new normal, but nothing was normal about it. Because a child who's growing up without his peers, a child who's not attending classes and has been introduced to the smartphone suddenly, for most people, in a way that was never known before. Now, these were very, very new challenges. So they were finding it very difficult to cope with the so-called new normal. But as time passed, they gradually started coping up with that. And now they're back to the offline classes. Like one of my panelists have told just now very aptly, that yes, going back to the offline classes is a necessity, and that is welcome. That would have happened today or tomorrow. But again, because they had got adjusted to this online mode, staying at home, not having a very disciplined lifestyle for many of the students. Like, parents used to tell me they wouldn't wake up on time, they wouldn't, take their bath on time, they wouldn't eat on time. And apart from the classes that they were using the smartphones for, they also had an access to so many other things on the internet, on their smartphones, like gaming, pornography, social media, etc., gambling also. And these had complicated their lives so much that some of them have also become addicts to the smartphone or to gaming or to social media, etc. So these days I get to see more of students at my clinic who are either refusing school because they have lost the habit of going to school. Some of them are like that. Some of them are anxious or depressed because, like it has been discussed by some of the students, they have lost the social skills which are so much required to mix up with the peers when they're back in school. Now they are more introverted, they're shy, they're hesitant, they've lost their confidence, so they are not willing to go to school. They're rather very anxious. Some of them are depressed because they have developed this bad habit of spending many, many hours at a stretch with their smartphones, not really studying, but doing other things like gaming or being on Facebook, etc. So they're depressed that this lifestyle will be snatched from them. Some of them are showing behavioral problems like aggression at home, or going away from home without informing their parents, and like one of the teachers have said, they're picking up fights or having altercations with their peers for no obvious reason or for very petty issues, etc. So these are the consequences of the 2 years that we have just crossed, the COVID-19 period. This has definitely been very difficult for the parents and the teachers too, because teachers also had to train themselves to this online mode of training, and with its own advantages and disadvantages during the COVID period. A lot of parents have come to me during the COVID-19 period last 2 years, and they said, especially parents of the younger children, so they said that children are not being able to handle or manage the online classes by themselves. They need assistance. Now many a parent, they were not very expert, they were not very accustomed to using the smartphone. They themselves had to learn the techniques of using a smartphone. So it was a challenge for everyone, parents, teachers, and students. But like I said, happily, we have come out of that phase. We are trying to cope. Students are coping very well. Everybody is coping. But a small fraction of them, they have fallen victims of many psychological disorder like anxiety, depression, substance abuse. They have attempted suicide, and they have become addicts to the smartphone, or to be more precise, they have become addicts to the internet. Now, we are trying to address those issues in our clinic. We are trying to counsel parents, students. We are trying to find out the root causes, because every child, every student has a different story to tell. And so we are trying to address the root causes and remove these problems.
Right.
And but otherwise, I think, you know, because a lot of people have lost their lives during COVID-19. So I must also congratulate and feel grateful to the Almighty. We must express gratitude that we are still alive and healthy, because jaan hai to jahan hai. Jaan to hai. Now let's see how we cope well with another new normal that we are facing, because this is again a new normal for us after 2 years of a different new normal.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Datta. Thank you so much for those comments of yours. Now, coming back to the educators here in the studio with me, would like to hear from you. In fact, Dr. Datta mentioned a lot of stuff, you know, the attention span.
Attention disorder.
Yes, that's there. Then many of the students not willing to come back to school.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yes.
We have such cases. We have encountered such cases. So for like, they have actually gone through a depression phase, which would not have otherwise happened. It was only because of this period where they were confined to their homes. And as doctor had mentioned, it is not normal to grow up without peers.
Yes.
Because a student life is about, you know, not only about academics, it's about growing in that social environment with the peers, learning with them, playing around, sharing their thoughts, and being a, being a person normal child, right? So it was not easy for them to cope up and stay aloof without interacting with their friends, because through phone, through social media, how much would a person interact?
Yes.
It's never a feeling that you get when you meet a person in flesh and blood. That would never give you that feeling. So those cases have actually cropped up. I would not deny that. Those have cropped up. As she mentioned, substance abuse, yes, and a lot of indiscipline regarding the daily routine of lifestyle. Lifestyle disorders have also happened. They wake up, they would not attend the online classes. They, they will wake throughout, they'll stay late till night.
Yes.
They won't wake up for the online classes after that. It was a total
Videos
disorder.
were off all the
Yeah,
time.
yes.
That's there. That's
So, it was not easy.
Right.
For both of us, for both the fraternity, I would say.
Yes, well, the students as well as the teachers. Yes. Dr. Baudelaire, your thoughts about all these behavioral changes, and you all as educators have to, be patient.
We have to have that extra patience with
Yes.
them, right? And I'm very thankful to Dr. Datta also, because she had mentioned all these like psychological issues that they had gone through, because we were really surprised with the increase in the disciplinary problems like arising every day, and we did not know like what was causing it. So these things behind the scene which were happening during the pandemic times, this is a real eye-opener. And apart from that, we have like concentrated on a 5 days educational basis thing.
Right.
The 6th day we have concentrated on workshops and all,
Okay.
so that they do not have any other thing. They just have to go bagless and they can enjoy different workshops, whatever they are interested in. Apart from that, we have been having counseling sessions, and for the younger lot, we have been having this life skill classes also. But I feel really sorry for the parent fraternity, because see, we have been having workshops, we have been taught how to handle this situation step by step. But the parents also, they are at a loss, like how will they handle this situation? So can't we also have for the parents also certain ways of handling their own kids? Because once gone, it's totally out of our hands. So for their purpose also, for their benefit also, I think we should have workshops for them, so that they know how to tackle this new normal with their kids. Because they keep coming and they say like, "Padhta nahi hai, karta nahi hai, kya kare?" So they are also at a loss. So I feel really sorry, because they have handled 2 years, and that was a totally new ABC for them, and they were trying to cope up their own lifestyles along with their kids. So this alongside, I think the parents also need
That's also
also,
concern.
yes.
Like,
Yes.
because they are
Big
also
concern.
fighting equally hard to bring that new normal like this phase.
Yeah. Meher and Dr. Banashri, your thoughts here. I'm sure as educators, a lot of responsibility
falls on us
yes,
as well.
yes,
Of course. Parents monitoring, it's at home, and then teachers keeping an alert in the school, keeping a vigilant eye on the students, their activities, because they spend a lot of time with the teachers in the school. There's some very good span of time that they are at school, and then it's the teachers who are in constant contact with the children. So we always have to study the child properly. When she mentions that the parent has to monitor the silence also, the teachers also need to do the same. So it is absolutely likewise, it is for the teachers and the parents alike to monitor, to guide, and to be a mentor to the child at all times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I would like to just put in one factor, that when we are using the word monitoring, it's a very sensitive issue, and students often get very offended, because they feel like monitoring goes to interfering. So when we are monitoring them, we have to know, we have to be very alert and not go into that interfering mode. So that is what they dislike, and sometimes they feel like those 2 years, they had gone through a lot of nagging also sometimes. So that also, nowadays they don't want to listen to anything. So this has totally made them, what will I say, they are just carrying a shield or a barrier
to certain things,
they
because
you can't penetrate into their thoughts. So they are getting more into peer groups, more into peer pressure, and that is aggravating the situation. So we have to deal it very sensitively. And see, normally our kids are very intelligent. Whenever you tell them something, it's not like our generation. Whatever is told, we do. But they will always question why. And if we explain it to them properly, they do follow. Because I have seen a lot of my students, they have been able to come to their normal terms, and they are being very adaptive to the new situation. So we have to deal with it sensitively, because parents should not go into that interfering mode. That is bad, I feel.
Okay. Yes, Meher, you want to
it's emotional quotient of the child, it's a delicate matter, as she mentions, and we have to be quite balanced about it. We need to be balanced. We need to know where to put a full stop to. The boundaries and the limitations, but at the same time, they are our children. We cannot leave them alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I have a lot to discuss with all of you. You mentioned about peer pressure, how the children are coping with that. Yes. And then of course we cannot.
Can I just add one point?
Yes, sure.
Can I just add one point? Yes, this has been a very wonderfully put actually, that we have to be very sensitive regarding the monitoring part, and we exactly have to know where to put a full stop and how to put a full stop. I just forgot to mention about the disciplining part. We have to actually practice what is called democratic discipline with children. A lot of times we see that some parents, they practice authoritarian discipline, where they do not try to listen to the child, they do not try to receive cues from the child. They dominate and they control and they interfere. So that is wrong kind of discipline, authoritative. The other is permissive discipline, where parents are they are always a yes to everything that the child says, even if the child is saying something or doing a lot of harm in the future. So they somehow don't care, or they do not say no to the child. They think it is about pampering the child and loving the child. That is also wrong disciplining. What we need to exercise, what we need to practice is democratic discipline, where there are rights of the child and responsibilities of the child. When we talk about monitoring also, we have to remember that democratic discipline has to be practiced. In a democracy, there are rights. The child has a right. The child has a right to express his opinion, his or her opinion. The child has a right to say what he likes and what he doesn't like. So similarly, there are responsibilities. Let's say if a child comes and tells the parent, many a times a student comes to me these days, especially after COVID-19, and the child and the student and the parent, they are having a conflict over the number of hours they use a mobile phone, maybe gaming or maybe doing social media. The parents object, the child insists because the child has already become an addict or maybe is in the process of becoming one. So there comes the role of democratic discipline. I will give you the phone, maybe for gaming or for whatsoever, you are doing this, okay, do this, but it will be 1 hour per day. And you also have responsibilities. Before you actually play games on your phone for 1 hour, you have to finish your homework, for example. So, when it comes to monitoring, definitely it shouldn't be interference. But just because a lot of parents have actually been practicing permissive discipline, sometimes they're not even aware of the fact that they think this is love, this is affection, but they don't realize that a day comes very soon when the child does not listen to them any further, any longer. So parents have to know, and so also teachers in the school, that the child should be given rights which are appropriate for his age and his development, physical and mental development, but at the same time the child should also be explained about his or her responsibilities towards himself, towards the school, towards the institution, towards his family and towards the society in a very mild, subtle manner. Right. Most children very happily and luckily, almost 98% of the students accept it because they're intelligent, they're sensitive. Only 2% of the children, hardly 2% of the children who could be having a previous problem of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or a conduct disorder problem or some learning disorder problem, or children who were very difficult to manage from their childhood sometimes, yes, they may not fall into this 98% category. It is with this 2% of children that the teachers or the parents will have to be slightly more maybe assertive, or maybe they will need professional counseling and sometimes even psychiatric intervention.
Right. Coming back to both you educators, your thoughts.
As she mentioned, I would just like to add here, the students should be made to understand that rights and duties are two faces of the same coin. If they want the rights, they also have their duties. As doctor has already mentioned, they have to know what are their duties, and accordingly, after doing their duties, they get their rights. Right. So it has to be a blend of both. And while dealing, the educators, the teachers, they have to be sensitive. At the same time, there has to be some kind of firmness in dealing with certain situations, because always giving them everything in a platter would not serve them good, because life is full of challenges. So this is the ground of preparation. They prepare for the next world they will be stepping in. So for them, things should not be that easy. Since they have come out of the COVID times, it was a difficult time to cope up, doesn't mean that they get everything in a platter. They need to know how to achieve things, they need to know how to balance things, they need to learn as well as, dispense their duties and then enjoy their rights.
Right.
I think proper balance has to be maintained.
Yes.
As an educationist, I also feel the same way, but our responsibilities have increased. Yes. Because along with only our giving our lessons, we have to go beyond that. We have to understand what they are going through. So we also have to enact ourselves as counselors also, as friends, philosophers, as the right word everybody follows, isn't it? Guide, friend, philosopher, whatever it is. So this is a big responsibility. And if like the three pillars, parents, students and educators together, if we can take it forward,
yes,
I think nothing is so difficult. We will, and
absolutely.
we can, isn't it?
Yes. Absolutely. On that very positive note, I would like to close today's big discussion. Thank you all for being part of this big discussion. Thank you viewers for watching. Thank you all once again. Till we meet again, it's a goodbye and stay safe.